In a world where headlines are constantly shifting and the spotlight never seems to linger, we have not just one, but several teens who have managed to captivate the globe like no other. From hacking NASA to eluding the FBI for years, ladies and gentlemen, prepare to be immersed in the mind-bending world of the most wanted teen in the world. 1. Alejandro Rosales Castillo.
New tonight, a Charlotte teenager caught in a deadly love triangle has been added to the FBI's 10 most wanted list. 18-year-old Alejandro Castillo is wanted on murder charges in the death of Sandy Lee.
The case of Alejandro Rosales Castillo is a chilling tale of a young man who has earned the notorious title of the most wanted teen in the world. From a seemingly ordinary teenager to a cold-blooded killer, Alejandro's story will leave you questioning the depths of human darkness. Born on November 26, 1998, in Arizona, Alejandro seemed like an ordinary teenager growing up. But beneath the surface, there were signs of a troubled soul. It was during his time in Charlotte, North Carolina, that Alejandro's dark desires would take a sinister turn. In 2016, he found employment at a Showmars restaurant, where he would meet the unsuspecting victim of his heinous crimes, 23-year-old Truckwan Sandy Lee. The duo began dating, and he carefully crafted an image of a caring and loving boyfriend. However, in a shocking act of betrayal, Alejandro borrowed money from Sandy, which he refused to pay, taking advantage of her trust and generosity. The depths of Alejandro's depravity were revealed on that fateful day when he took Sandy's life. On August 6, 2016, Castillo, who by now had broken up with Sandy and started dating another co-worker, texted Sandy saying he wanted to repay her the money she had previously loaned him. She agreed to meet him at a quick trip on Eastway Drive in Charlotte. Castillo was with his new girlfriend, Amia Feaster, who drove him to the meeting. While the accounts of what happened are unclear, it is believed that upon meeting Sandy, Castillo forced her to withdraw all the money from her bank account at gunpoint. From there, it is alleged that he drove her to a wooded area in Cabarrus County, where in a cold and calculated act, he shot her in the head once, extinguishing her light forever. The brutality of the crime sent shockwaves through the community, leaving everyone in disbelief. How could someone so young and seemingly ordinary commit such a heinous act? After committing this unspeakable crime, Alejandro and his new girlfriend at the time fled to Arizona, where they crossed the border into Mexico, where they believed they could evade capture. The authorities, however, were not willing to let him escape justice. The manhunt for Alejandro Castillo began, and law enforcement agencies worldwide joined forces to bring him to justice. The hunt for Alejandro Castillo became a global effort, with authorities from different countries working tirelessly to track him down. He was charged with first-degree murder and later charged with unlawful flight to avoid prosecution. Feaster, on the other hand, turned herself in to authorities in Aguascalientes, Mexico on October 20, 2016, and was extradited back to the US, where she was charged with accessory after the fact of felony murder and larceny of a motor vehicle. The FBI, recognizing the severity of Alejandro's crimes, added him to their prestigious 10 Most Wanted Fugitives list on October 24, 2017. This designation elevated the urgency of his capture, making him one of the most sought-after criminals in the world.
The FBI is offering a reward of up to $100,000 for information leading directly to the arrest of alleged murderer Alejandro Castillo. The 18-year-old is the latest addition to the FBI's 10 Most Wanted Fugitives list.
Castillo is currently still at large and is believed to still be hiding in Mexico. The FBI, in their relentless pursuit of Alejandro, now offers a substantial reward of up to $250,000 for any information that would lead to his capture. This sizable sum serves as a powerful incentive for individuals who may have had knowledge of Alejandro's whereabouts to come forward. The hope is that the promise of a significant reward would break the code of silence surrounding his hideout. 2. Jesse James Hollywood.
A Santa Barbara judge has sentenced Jesse James Hollywood to life in prison without the possibility of parole.
Next, we explore the shocking crimes of Jesse James Hollywood, who was sentenced to life imprisonment after murdering another teen and fleeing the country. Before Jesse James Hollywood became the most wanted teen in the world, his life seemed like any other ordinary American teenager. Born on January 28, 1980, Hollywood grew up in the quiet neighborhood of West Hills, Los Angeles, California. As a child, Hollywood was involved in the local junior baseball league, showcasing his athletic abilities and blending in with his peers. He attended Pinecrest Woodland Hills, a school where he began to form friendships that would later play a significant role in his criminal activities. However, Hollywood's life took a dark turn during his adolescent years. He started selling illegal drugs, lured by the allure of quick money and the power power it brought. Little did anyone know that this seemingly ordinary teenager was on a path that would lead to unimaginable violence and tragedy. Hollywood's involvement in the drug trade didn't stop at selling. He recruited his former high school friends, enticing them into a life of crime, using their loyalty and trust to build his narcotics empire. It was during this time that Hollywood's true nature began to emerge. He showed a cunning and manipulative side, using his charm to control those around him. But no one could have predicted the depths to which he would sink. The year was 2000, and Jesse James Hollywood's criminal empire was about to take a sinister turn. It all began with a drug debt of $1,200 owed by one of Hollywood's associates, Benjamin Markowitz. Hollywood, consumed by his insatiable thirst for power and money, became increasingly concerned about the unpaid debt. Fearing the consequences of not being able to collect, he hatched a plan that would forever stain his name in infamy. On that fateful day, August 6, 2000, Hollywood and his crew descended upon Benjamin's home and kidnapped his half-brother, Nicholas Markowitz, as leverage to make Ben pay his debt. Hollywood's desperation grew as he sought legal advice after holding Nicholas for 3 days. His lawyer informed him that all involved in the kidnap, if arrested, faced a life sentence. The consequences of his actions became all too real, and he knew he had to make a chilling decision to protect himself and his empire. In a shocking turn of events, Hollywood ordered one of his subordinates to kill Nicholas Markowitz with a Tech-9 pistol. The young teenager's life was tragically cut short, his body left abandoned. 3 days later, Markowitz's lifeless body was discovered, sending shockwaves through the community and capturing the attention of the nation. Hollywood, realizing the gravity of his actions, knew he had to flee. He escaped to Brazil with the help of his loved ones, assuming a false identity, even learning to speak Portuguese language in a desperate attempt to evade capture. While there, he was still heavily funded by his father. By now, he was profiled on America's Most Wanted, but justice has a way of catching up with even the most cunning criminals. In 2005, Brazilian authorities apprehended Hollywood, and he was extradited to the United States to face trial for his heinous crimes. The trial was highly publicized, with Hollywood's story inspiring the 2006 movie Alpha Dog, starring Justin Timberlake. His defense team argued that the pre-trial publicity had tainted his chances of receiving a fair trial. However, the evidence presented by the prosecution was overwhelming. In July 2009, Hollywood was found guilty of first-degree murder and kidnapping with special circumstances, and on July 13th was sentenced to life in prison. 3. Colton Harris Moore. In a world filled with notorious criminals, the barefoot bandit will always be mentioned. At just a tender age, Colton Harris Moore, a teenage prodigy, managed to capture the attention of authorities worldwide, earning him the title of the most wanted teen in the world. With his audacious acts of crime and a knack for eluding capture, Colton became a living legend, leaving a trail of disbelief and shock in his wake. As we dive deeper into the life of Colton Harris Moore, it becomes apparent that his journey toward becoming the most wanted teen in the world was anything but ordinary. Born on March 22, 1991, in the small town of Mount Vernon, Washington, Colton's early years were marked by hardship and adversity. Growing up in a broken home, Colton faced numerous challenges that shaped his path. His parents' tumultuous relationship and eventual divorce left a lasting impact on the young boy. With his mother struggling with substance abuse and his father absent from his life, Colton found solace in the nearby woods, where he developed a fascination with survival skills and outdoor living. It was during this time that Colton's natural talents began to emerge. He displayed an uncanny ability to navigate through dense forests, evade capture, and survive in the wilderness with limited resources. These skills would later become instrumental in his audacious criminal exploits. As Colton entered his teenage years, his criminal tendencies started to manifest. His first brush with the law came in 2003 when he was just 12 years old. This incident marked the beginning of a series of burglaries that would soon escalate in both scale and audacity. From there, he advanced to stealing bicycles, automobiles, speedboats, and even light airplanes, which he learned how to fly by reading aircraft manuals and handbooks and playing flight simulator computer games. He was suspected of being responsible for approximately 100 thefts in Washington, Idaho, and Canada. Colton's criminal activities soon caught the attention of local law enforcement, who dubbed him the Barefoot Bandit due to his habit of committing crimes without shoes. His ability to elude capture became legendary, leaving authorities authorities baffled and the public captivated by his daring escapades. One of the most shocking incidents involving Colton occurred in 2008 when he stole a Cessna 182 aircraft belonging to radio personality Bob Rivers from an airport in Idaho, valued at over $150,000. With no formal flight training, he managed to take off and embark on a cross-country joyride, leaving a trail of disbelief in his wake. The audacity of this act, coupled with his age, catapulted Colton into international notoriety. The plane was later recovered from a Yakima Indian reservation crash site badly damaged. But it wasn't just his ability to fly planes that amazed the world. Colton's skills as a master burglar were equally astonishing. He targeted high-end vacation homes, stealing luxury items, cash, and even vehicles. His meticulous planning and execution left investigators dumbfounded as he seemed to effortlessly slip away from the scenes of his crimes. At one point, he was caught and sentenced to 3 years, but he escaped out of a halfway house in April 2008 and couldn't be found for 2 years. On July 6, 2010, an indictment was released citing Colton for interstate transport of stolen property theft. He became a wanted person, and the FBI placed a $10,000 bounty for information.
2 years on the run, the so-called barefoot bandit, accused of robbing people in 8 states and 2 other countries, is in jail this morning in the Bahamas.
Eventually, he was captured at Harbor Island, Bahamas on July 11, 2010. The end of his reign as the most wanted teen in the world marked a turning point in his life, as he faced a lengthy legal battle and the consequences of his actions. Ultimately, Colton was sentenced to 6.5 years in prison for his infamous international crime spree on January 27, 2012. 4. Juan Elias Garcia, a name that strikes fear into the hearts of many. But how did this young man become one of the most wanted teens in the United States? To understand the shocking events that unfolded, we must first delve into Garcia's troubled background and his involvement with the notorious MS-13 gang. Raised in a neighborhood plagued by violence and poverty, Garcia found solace in the streets, seeking a sense of belonging and purpose. It was in these streets that Garcia encountered the MS-13 gang, a notorious criminal organization known for its brutality and ruthlessness. Drawn to the allure of power and protection, Garcia became entangled in the web of gang life at a young age. The MS-13 gang, also known as Mara Salvatrucha, originated in the 1980s in Los Angeles, California. Comprised primarily of Salvadoran immigrants, the gang quickly gained a reputation for its involvement in drug trafficking, human smuggling, and acts of extreme violence. For Garcia, joining the MS-13 gang provided a sense of identity and belonging that he had longed for. But little did he know that this decision would lead him down a dark and treacherous path. As Garcia became more deeply involved with the gang, his actions grew increasingly violent and dangerous. But it was Garcia's involvement in a heinous crime that would ultimately seal his fate and catapult him onto the FBI's most wanted list. On February 4, 2010, 21-year-old Garcia's life took a sinister turn when he contacted Vanessa Argueta, a 19-year-old girl he had been dating. What seemed like a simple dinner invitation would soon turn into a nightmare of unimaginable proportions. Vanessa, unaware of the danger that awaited her, accepted Garcia's invitation and even brought her 2-year-old son, Diego Torres, along. Little did she know that this would be their last meal together. Instead of taking Vanessa and Diego to a restaurant, Garcia, along with his accomplices Adalberto Ariel Guzman and René Mendez Mejia, drove them to a secluded wooded area in central Islip, New York. It was there that their lives would be brutally taken away. Vanessa was shot twice in the head and chest, her life extinguished in an instant. And as if that wasn't enough, the gang members turned their guns towards the innocent toddler, Diego, in a desperate attempt to find safety, clung onto Garcia's leg, hoping for protection from the violence unfolding around him. But his innocence and vulnerability were met with cold-hearted brutality as he was shot in the head once. According to testimonies provided in court, Argueta and Garcia had been involved in a dispute, and after that, Garcia began to receive threats of violence from a rival gang. He then reported the threats to Guzman and Mejia, and they obtained information from their leader, Heriberto Martinez, to retaliate against Argueta. The brutal murder of Vanessa and Diego sent shockwaves through the community, leaving family members and friends devastated and demanding justice. The hunt for Garcia and his accomplices began, and the FBI vowed to bring them to justice. The FBI wasted no time in launching a nationwide manhunt for Garcia, who had managed to flee the country. Soon he became one of the most wanted teens in the country. His face appeared on wanted posters, billboards, and news broadcasts, serving as a constant reminder that justice would not rest until he was captured. On March 26, 2014, Garcia was added to the FBI's 10 most wanted fugitives list, and perhaps scared of the massive manhunt against him, he surrendered to authorities at the US Embassy in Nicaragua the next day. 5. Jonathan James. In the late 1990s, the world was captivated by the audacious actions of a young prodigy who would forever change the landscape of cybersecurity. Jonathan James, known as the kid who hacked NASA, became a household name overnight. But how did this remarkable teenager manage to breach the impenetrable walls of one of the most secure organizations in the world? It all began in the quiet suburbs of Miami, Florida, where a young Jonathan James discovered his insatiable curiosity for computers. Even at a tender age, he was drawn to the intricate world of technology, spending countless hours tinkering with hardware and software, eager to unravel their secrets. Jonathan's parents, recognizing his exceptional talent, nurtured his passion by providing him with his first computer at the age of 6. He voraciously consumed every piece of information he could find, immersing himself in programming languages and networking protocols. His thirst for knowledge was insatiable, and he quickly surpassed his peers in technical proficiency. But it wasn't long before Jonathan's innocent curiosity took a darker turn as he stumbled upon the world of hacking. At the age of 15, he quickly gained a reputation in the hacking community for his ability to penetrate even the most secure systems, earning him the respect of his peers and the fear of those who stood in his way. However, it was his audacious act of hacking into the AT&T Bell South Miami-Dade school system and a network belonging to a unit NASA in Huntsville, Alabama, that truly put him on the map. In a daring display of skill, Jonathan exposed vulnerabilities in the system, highlighting the need for improved cybersecurity measures. Unbeknownst to Jonathan, his actions had not gone unnoticed by the authorities, but this only fueled Jonathan's desire to push the boundaries further, to prove that no system was truly impenetrable. As Jonathan James continued to hone his hacking skills, his sights were set on a target that seemed impossible to breach: the computers of the Defense Threat Reduction Agency, also known as DTRA, which was a division of the United States Department of Defense. With its cutting-edge technology and robust security measures, the DTRA was considered the pinnacle of cybersecurity. But Jonathan was undeterred by the challenge. In a stunning display of audacity, Jonathan successfully infiltrated the network, gaining unauthorized access to highly sensitive information. It was a feat that sent shockwaves through the cybersecurity community and left both the DTRA scrambling to understand the extent of the breach. But Jonathan's intentions were not malicious. He saw himself as a digital explorer, driven by the pursuit of knowledge rather than personal gain. He wanted to prove that even the most fortified systems could be penetrated, urging organizations to strengthen their defenses. However, the consequences of his actions were far-reaching. The breach compromised critical data, including software source code and confidential information related to ongoing space missions. The fallout from Jonathan's hack was swift and severe. The FBI, already aware of his activities, intensified their efforts to bring him to justice. They launched a full-scale investigation, leaving no stone unturned in their pursuit of the elusive hacker. On January 26, 2000, Jonathan's world came crashing down when he was arrested by federal agents. At just 16 years old, he became the first juvenile to be convicted of hacking in the United States. Ultimately, 16-year-old Jonathan was found guilty of 2 counts of juvenile delinquency. Despite his young age, Jonathan was sentenced to 7 months of house arrest and probation until the age of 18. He was also required to write letters of apology to NASA and the Department of Defense, and was banned from using computers for recreational purposes. The consequences of his actions extended beyond the courtroom. Jonathan's hacking exploits had irreversibly damaged his reputation and limited his future prospects. He became a pariah in the cybersecurity community, with many viewing him as a cautionary tale rather than a prodigious talent. The fallout from the NASA hack also had a profound impact on Jonathan's personal life. The stress of the legal battle took a toll on his mental health, and he struggled to find his place in a world that seemed determined to keep him on the fringes. In 2008, at the age of 24, he took his own life with a self-inflicted gunshot wound to the head. 6. Albert Gonzalez.
One of tonight's biggest newsmakers can't be here with us. He is under lock and key at a detention center in New York, probably without a computer in his cell. Albert Gonzalez is awaiting trial on allegations he orchestrated the largest data breach in history.
Born in 1981, Albert Gonzalez rose from a teenage hacker to become the mastermind behind the largest credit card theft and subsequent reselling operation in history. In the early days of the internet, a young prodigy was quietly honing his skills in the shadows. From a very young age, he possessed an insatiable curiosity and an exceptional aptitude for all things related to computers. By the time he was 14, he had managed to hack into NASA. It was during his formative years that Gonzalez discovered his passion for hacking. He quickly gained a reputation for his ability to infiltrate even the most secure networks, leaving no digital stone unturned. But it wasn't just his technical prowess that set Gonzalez apart. He possessed a unique ability to assemble and lead a group of like-minded individuals, forming a collective known as the Shadow Crew. The Shadow Crew was a tight-knit community of hackers, united by their shared passion for exploring the boundaries of the digital world. They operated in the shadows, exploiting vulnerabilities in corporate systems and stealing sensitive information. Their methods were sophisticated, utilizing techniques like SQL injection to deploy backdoors on unsuspecting networks. This allowed them to gain unrestricted access to internal systems where they could extract valuable data, including credit card and ATM numbers. As Albert Gonzalez's hacking empire continued to expand, he set his sights on a target that would send shockwaves throughout the financial industry. The year was 2007, and the victim of his audacious cyber attack was none other than TJX Companies, one of the largest retail corporations in the world. Gonzalez and his team of hackers infiltrated the TJX Company's computer systems, exploiting vulnerabilities and gaining access to a treasure trove of sensitive information. What they discovered was beyond their wildest dreams. Millions of credit and debit card numbers were at their fingertips, ripe for the taking. The magnitude of the theft was unprecedented, sending shockwaves throughout the financial industry and leaving countless individuals vulnerable to identity theft and financial fraud. The stolen data was quickly funneled into the underground market, where it became a valuable commodity for cybercriminals around the world. The repercussions for TJX Companies were severe, as the breach not only tarnished their reputation, but also resulted in significant financial losses and legal consequences. But the story doesn't end there. As the authorities closed in on Gonzalez and his accomplices, the true extent of their criminal activities began to unravel. The credit card theft from TJX Companies was just one piece of a much larger puzzle. It was estimated that Gonzalez and his team had stolen over 170 million card and ATM numbers from various sources, making it the largest credit card theft in history. The sheer scale of their operation was mind-boggling, leaving experts and law enforcement agencies astounded. On May 7, 2008, the authorities finally caught up with him, and he was arrested for his involvement in the massive credit card thefts that had sent shockwaves throughout the world. But what followed his arrest was a twist that left the world stunned. Gonzalez, facing the prospect of a lengthy prison sentence, made a bold claim. He asserted that he had been assisting the Secret Service in their efforts to track down and apprehend other cyber criminals. According to Gonzalez, he had been working as an informant, providing valuable information to the authorities in their fight against cybercrime. This revelation sent shockwaves through the legal system, raising questions about the true extent of his involvement and the motives behind his claim. Despite his claim, Gonzalez's motion to withdraw his guilty plea was ultimately denied. The court deemed his assertions lacking in credibility, and he was sentenced to 20 years in federal prison, a punishment befitting the magnitude of his crimes. 7. David Fine.
Carlton Armstrong, Dwight Armstrong, David Fine, Leo Burt. Authorities say they used a truck bomb to obliterate Sterling Hall. Their target, the Army Math Research Center and its connection to the war effort.
Next, we delve into the chilling tale of David Fine and his role in the infamous Sterling Hall bombing. It was the late 1960s, a time of immense social and political unrest in the United States. The Vietnam War had divided the nation, and nowhere was this division more evident than on the University of Wisconsin-Madison campus. Anti-war protests were a daily occurrence, with students and activists demanding an end to the war and the withdrawal of American troops. Among the protesters were 4 individuals who would go on to commit an act of domestic terrorism that would shock the nation. Their names were Carlton Armstrong, Dwight Armstrong, David Fine, and Leo Burt. These young men were deeply passionate about their anti-war beliefs and were willing to go to extreme lengths to make their voices heard. The Army Math Research Center, located in Sterling Hall on the UW-Madison campus, became the focal point of their anger. They believed that the center was directly connected to the war effort and saw it as a symbol of the government's involvement in the conflict. It became their duty to take action and send a powerful message. David Fine, a young and impressionable man who was just 18 years old at the time, was an integral part of this group. He shared their passion and believed in the righteousness of their cause. Together, they meticulously planned every detail of the bombing, ensuring that their message would be heard loud and clear. On that fateful day, August 24, 1970, their plan was put into action. The truck bomb made of dynamite, 100 US gallons of fuel oil, and 770 kilograms of ammonium nitrate fertilizer was parked outside Sterling Hall in the early hours of the morning. According to them, they claimed they lit the fuse after seeing no activity. Unfortunately, the bomb, which detonated at 3:24 a.m., killed a physics postdoctoral researcher, Robert Fasnacht. who was working late, injured 3 others and caused millions of dollars in damage to the building. The Sterling Hall bombing sent shockwaves through the nation, leaving a trail of destruction and a deep sense of loss. As the dust settled, investigators immediately began working tirelessly to apprehend those responsible for this heinous act of domestic terrorism. All 4 men, Carlton Armstrong, Dwight Armstrong, David Fine, and Leo Burt, the 4 individuals behind the bombing, went on the run after learning someone had died.
The UW Board of Regents today pledged a $100,000 reward for any information which leads to the conviction of those who bombed the Army Mathematics Research Center.
They were all placed on the FBI's most wanted list. After eluding the authorities for 5 years and a half, David Fine was eventually captured in San Rafael, California on January 7, 1976. On June 8, 1976, he pleaded guilty to multiple charges, which included conspiracy and unlawful flight to avoid prosecution. He also pleaded to murder in the 3rd degree and destruction of property. He received 2 sentences of 7 years on both state and federal charges. The sentences were to run concurrently. Carlton and Dwight Armstrong were also captured, but Leo Burt remains a fugitive to date. 8. Jose Luis Huertas. In the world of crime and intrigue, there are individuals whose actions captivate our attention and leave us in awe. One such figure is Jose Luis Huertas, a name that has become synonymous with notoriety and elusiveness. From a young age, Huertas was already deep into the world of hacking, and when he was just 15, he hacked into Burger King's network, making the in-store kiosks give away free food. Gaining notoriety for that, and even the nickname Robin Hood Hacker, Huertas, also known as Alcasec, decided he was going to set his sights on bigger conquests, and he went on to commit more cybercrimes. However, his actions started to get noticed by the Spanish police in November 2022, following a cyber attack against the General Council of the Euro's nation judiciary. Now, 19-year-old Huertas hacked into the agency's network and used his access to break into other government networks, including that of Spain's tax agency. During his intrusion, the Robin Hood hack allegedly stole citizens' personal data, bank account details, and other private information. He also went on to commit other high-profile cyber attacks, including impersonating and stealing 300,000 euros from Paulo Vasile, the CEO of media corporation Gestavision Telecinco Mediaset España. He also had a platform named Udiat, the Eye of Horus, where he sold the stolen data he had gotten to other cybercriminals. Unfortunately, Huertas was a proud hacker who wasn't ashamed of bragging about his exploit, even saying in a YouTube video that he had access to information of 90% of Spanish citizens. To the cyber nerds, he was some sort of hero, and even had over 100,000 followers on Instagram. It was hard for law enforcement to track Huertas because he often concealed the proceeds of his theft into cryptocurrencies, making it hard to track the funds to the recipients. With his illegal earnings, Huertas lived a luxurious life, going on expensive trips, wearing luxury brands, and even owning a luxury high-speed car. In April 2023, he was finally arrested after managing to elude the Spanish government for years. Investigators were able to seize a large amount of cash, his computer equipment, and his luxury vehicle following his capture. That put an end to the reign of the Robin Hood hacker in Spain. 9. Matthew Weigmann. In a world where technology has become an integral part of our lives, there are those who push the boundaries of what is possible. Meet Matthew Weigmann, a blind teenager from East Boston who defied all expectations and became a prominent figure in the hacking community. Matthew Weigmann was born on April 20, 1990, in Boston, Massachusetts. He was legally blind due to optic nerve atrophy, but he was capable of rudimentary perception of contrast in bright light. From a young age, it was clear that he possessed an exceptional intellect and an insatiable curiosity about the digital world. Despite his visual impairment, Weigmann developed a remarkable ability to navigate the intricacies of technology. When he was 11 years old, he came across party lines and soon became so absorbed in them that he would spend hours on the phone. He began to learn tricks from other party line participants, recycled from telecommunication hacker groups such as phone breaks. Weigmann's unique talent did not go unnoticed. As he delved deeper into the world of hacking, he soon knew how to gain free telephone service where picked up a wide range of information. But Weigmann's journey into the dark side of technology would soon take a dangerous turn. As he delved deeper into the hacking community, he became entangled in a web of illegal activities that would ultimately lead to his downfall. Weigmann's involvement in a so-called swatting conspiracy would thrust him into the national spotlight. Swatting, a dangerous prank that involves making false emergency calls to law enforcement, became a tool for Weigmann and his co-conspirators conspirators to wreak havoc on people he disliked and to sexually harass women. Using his knowledge of telecommunication systems, Weigmann and his accomplices would make fraudulent calls, impersonating victims and initiating SWAT team responses to innocent individuals' homes. The consequences were dire, as unsuspecting families found themselves at the center of terrifying police raids. In one instance, a girl had refused to have phone sex with him during a party line session. He then initiated a call to 911 with a forged caller ID pretending to be a gunman, holding the girl and her father at gunpoint. Weigmann also had an extraordinary sense of memory and hearing. He could mimic any voice, memorize a large amount of phone numbers, and understand the inner workings of a phone network system by listening to the different frequencies. At the age of 14, he gained access to Verizon and AT&T by imitating an employee of the company. Weigmann's actions not only endangered innocent lives, but also caught the attention of law enforcement agencies across the country. The blind teenager had become a wanted person, pursued by authorities determined to bring him to justice. In May 2008, Weigmann's reign came to an end when he was arrested in Boston on related charges. The once promising young talent was now facing the harsh reality of the legal consequences of his actions. On June 26, 2009, Weigmann was sentenced to 11 years and 3 months for his involvement in a swatting conspiracy, marking the end of an era for the young hacker. 10. Michael Kals. Michael Kals, also known as Mafia Boy, shook the world and cyber community when he hacked into major networks as a teenager. Kalsi was not always a notorious hacker. Before his transformation into a wanted person, Kalsi had established himself as a security expert. However, his expertise took a dark turn when he launched a series of highly publicized denial-of-service attacks in February 2000. Michael Kalsi was born in 1984 in Montreal, Quebec, a seemingly ordinary child with an extraordinary talent for computers. At a young age, Kalsi's parents separated, and he found solace in his own world of technology. Feeling isolated from his friends back home, as Kalsi grew older, his fascination with computers only intensified. He immersed himself in the world of coding, networking, and cybersecurity. His natural talent and insatiable curiosity led him to become a security expert, well-versed in the intricacies of computer systems and their vulnerabilities. On February 7, 2000, Kalsi made a decision that would change the course of his life forever. He targeted Yahoo, one of the largest web companies and the top search engine at the time, with a project he named Rivolta, meaning rebellion in Italian. Rivolta was a distributed denial-of-service DDoS attack, a method where servers are overwhelmed with various types of communications, rendering them unresponsive, and he managed to shut down Yahoo for almost an hour. Kalsi's goal was clear: to establish dominance for himself and his cyber group, TNT, in the cyber world. The success of the Yahoo attack only fueled Kalsi's hunger for power. Shortly after, Buy.com became the next target of a similar DDoS attack, which has been attributed to Kalsi. However, he claims that he was not responsible, and that another hacker performed the attack as a challenge to coax him into targeting other websites. In response to this challenge, Kalsi unleashed a wave of attacks on major commercial websites, including eBay, CNN, Amazon, and Dell. The cyber world was in turmoil as these giants of the internet struggled to fend off the relentless onslaught of Kalsi's DDoS attacks. In a shocking twist, Kalsi later revealed that the attacks had been launched unwittingly. He had downloaded a security tool from a now-defunct file-sharing platform, Hotline, and inputted known addresses into the application. Kalsi left for school, forgetting about the running application, which continued the attacks throughout the day. Unaware of the havoc he had caused, he returned home to find his computer crashed. It was only when Kalsi overheard the news and recognized the companies mentioned as those he had inputted earlier that day that he started to piece together the puzzle. The realization of his actions hit him like a ton of bricks, and he began to understand the magnitude of the chaos he had unleashed upon the cyber world. The US Federal Bureau of Investigation, FBI, and the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, RCMP, were quick to take notice of Kalsi's claims in IRC chat rooms, where he boasted about his involvement in the attacks. His status as a wanted person became apparent when he claimed responsibility for bringing down Dell's website, an attack that had not yet been publicized. Kalsi initially denied responsibility, but as the evidence mounted against him, he eventually pleaded guilty to over 50 charges brought against him. The Montreal Youth Court sentenced Kalsi on September 12, 2001 to 8 months of open custody, 1 year of probation, restricted use of the internet, and a small fine. Despite being caught, the legacy of Kalsi's actions can still be felt today. The cybersecurity landscape has evolved significantly, with continuous advancements in technology and a heightened awareness of potential threats, all thanks to the hacking abilities of a 17-year-old teenager. The face of rebellion and notoriety, this video of the most wanted teen in the world gives us a glimpse of the cat-and-mouse chase between the law and these kids who went the extra mile to prove a point. If you found this video fascinating, click on the cards showing on your screen for more.